Save 15% off your order through Safari site using my exclusive coupon code DINOSCREAM. Link is in the description of this video. Hey everyone, welcome back to another Safari Limited review. Today we're going to take a look at another older figure, and look at this. It's still actually in production. I've been on kind of a terrible streak lately. All these older reviews I've been doing. Most of the figures I've done, they're not in production anymore, but this beautiful Vagaceratops is still available from Safari. And just like I said at the beginning of the review, the link is down below if you want to purchase it. I'm a huge fan of the Ceratopsians that Safari puts out. Doug Watson does an amazing job sculpting these figures, and this Vagaceratops came out about 10 years ago in 2012, and it's still a beautiful figure of a very obscure Ceratopsian series. And I'm always a sucker for the less popular species of dinosaurs, because it gets kind of exhausting, with everyone making like 8 million T-Rexes and Spinosaurs, Triceratops and whatnot. So this Vagaceratops is a breath of fresh air in your collection. And plus, the figure costs just over $10, which is an absolute bargain, especially if you collect, some of the other companies like P&S. So this is very, very easy on the wallet. So let's throw this thing up on the turntable and jump into this review. And now let's start with a nice 360-degree view of Vagaceratops. It is a type of Chasmosaurinae. It's a very, very diverse species of Ceratopsian. It has a ton of species in that clade. It is from the late Cretaceous of Alberta, and the color scheme is pretty unique for a Ceratopsian figure. Usually they're gray, green, brown. This one is an orange color with some nice dry brushing of brown to highlight all that scale detail. And it's very, very similar looking to the life-size reconstruction outside the Canadian Museum of Nature. I don't know if it was intentional, probably was, and I'm okay with that. It really makes this thing stand out on the shelf with that bright orange coloration. And even though it's a 10-year-old figure, it is extremely accurate. I'll get into the accuracies a little bit later on in the review, but it's definitely a highlight of my Ceratopsian figure collection. I love obscure species, and this one fits into my collection really nicely. And now for some measurements. This figure, if you measure along that curve of the tail, is about 6.5 inches long and about 2 3/4 inches tall to the top of the frill. So Vagaceratops in real life is around 19.6 feet long. So I'll put this figure nicely in that 1/35 scale range. Now let's zoom in and take a look at some of the finer details on this figure, starting with that beautiful head sculpt. The head is nicely sculpted. It has a lot of life and character with it, especially with the mouth wide open like that, screaming bloody murder. Now, some of the key features of Vagaceratops: it had a larger beak than most Chasmosaurinae. You can see that is beautifully represented on this figure. I think the mouth wide open makes it look a little bit bigger because of that, but it is a nice touch to have the mouth open like this. And then you have a nice tongue sculpted inside that is done in a dark red glossy paint. You can see the nostril sculpted right here, a little bit of red paint inside there. The nose horn is nicely sculpted. It is picked out in brown paint. Moving down to the eye is painted the same color yellow as this part of the face. I kind of wish that part was a different color to make it stand out a little bit more, but it's just a minor critique. The pupil is painted in black. And then looking at the front of the frill, a couple other features that make Vagaceratops different. You had 10 epicipical bones on the top of the frill. Those are the bones that line the edges of the frill. The middle 8 were flattened, and that is a big check right here. All 8 of them are flattened, so very, very accurate head sculpt. And thank you for listening to me regurgitating those Wikipedia facts. You have a little bit of brown paint picking out the scales on the fenestra, and then some more dry brushing to highlight those larger scales on the edges of the fenestra. So yeah, a very, very nice looking head sculpt. And then going around the side over here, you can see the ear canal is picked out with black and red paint. Back of the frill has some nice scale detail on it. Now the scales on this figure are really large. They're not proportionate to the size of the figure, and it looks like Doug Watson used the was the lane material available in 2012? I don't remember, but kind of reminds me of it. You have a mixture of small and large scales. No, it doesn't look like lane material to me. They're not hexagonal, but pretty close, but really nice texturing on here. All that dry brushing to bring out all those large scales. You can view it from the top. Has pretty wide hip area, And then going down to the front legs, you have very, very accurate front legs. You have the toe claws that should have claws on them exposed, with these outer toes not having the claws exposed at all. They're painted in a very light brown paint. And then turning them over, you do have some nice detail on the bottom of the feet. The underside is a much lighter brown with some nice scale detail. And since we have the figure turn over, here is our dinosaur cloaca slit picked out with a little bit of black paint. And then going down to the main body, have some more of those large scales, nice thick muscular looking thighs and calves. Same thing with the hind feet, correct number of toes, all picked out in light brown paint. And then going down to the tail, you do have this brighter yellow striping on the tail, which really helps contrasting with the orange and brown on here. That is a nice little touch. It's not exactly what it looked like on the Canadian Museum of Nature's Vagaceratops statue, but it definitely makes it stand out, makes it look a little bit different than that life-size statue. So yeah, all in all, a really, really nice looking figure. And like I said, I love obscure Ceratopsians, and this one is definitely very obscure. And now moving on with comparisons, here it is with Safari Limited. Daspletosaurus, Vagaceratops, and Daspletosaurus existed in the same ecosystem, and I think both these figures scale pretty well with each other. If you want to do like a little fight scene on the shells, definitely pick up the Daspletosaurus to display with the Vagaceratops. And let's get the T-Rex comparison out of the way early during this. Here it is with Safari's Dino Dana T-Rex repaint. And now let's compare this to some other Chasmosaurinae. I think I pronounced it Chasmosaurinae a couple times during this review. For years and years on end, I've been pronouncing Chasmosaurus as Chasmosaurus, but I had to reprogram my brain once I started doing the reviews and actually seeing how you actually pronounce dinosaur names. So anyways, here is Vagaceratops' closest relative, Cosmoceratops. This is the beautiful beast of the Mesozoic version, and I got a few more beasts of the Mesozoic figures. These species are all closely related to Vagaceratops. Here it is with beast of Mesozoic Chasmosaurus, and let's keep this little assembly line going. Next is the giant Utah Ceratops. These figures obviously don't scale with each other. And lastly, let's get this big guy out of here. It's so hard to juggle these beasts of Mesozoic figures. Here it is with Pentaceratops, and it would be nice, somewhere down the line, next few years, that Safari can knock out some more Ceratopsian species, like roughly around this scale, because a lot of their Ceratopsian figures really scale really nicely with each other. Love to see their take on like Utah Ceratops and Pentaceratops and Chasmosaurus, a very, very well-known species that is very overlooked by a lot of dinosaur toy companies. And speaking of Safari's Ceratopsians, here is Vagaceratops with the rest of the Ceratopsians, and they have a great species variety. They all scale really well with each other, and they look great on the shelves to show the size differences between all the different species. So starting in the top row, here is their Diabloceratops, Triceratops, Ionosaurus, the Vagaceratops, Regaloceratops, Styracosaurus, Pachyrhinosaurus, and Nasutoceratops. You'll notice there are two Nasutoceratops in this group shot, and I've never brought this up during the reviews before. I do bring it up online, like on Instagram and Facebook occasionally. There's actually two variants of their retired Nasutoceratops. We have the banded version right here, and then we have one with a spotted frill. The spotted frill one was the first production run, and I think that one was the one that was in production the longest. And then right near the end, before they retired the figure, for some reason they switched over to a banded version. So if you want to collect something different and try to track it down, fun little duo of figures. I was glad that I end up tracking down the spotted one. I actually, for some reason, got like a bunch of banded ones, and I bought this figure because it was so dirt cheap when it was being discontinued. I used it for a lot of repaints, and then I realized it was a spotted frill version, so I had to kind of track that one down because this was the current production model. So yeah, something fun if you feel like doing it. Now we're going to segue into a reused clip from my Griposaurus review of the Dinosaur Park formation dinosaurs. I just did not feel like digging everything out and set it up again. I'm a little bit lazy, but please enjoy. And now, first up for formation group shots, we have the Dinosaur Park formation, which is a very, very diverse formation. this is just the tip of the iceberg. These are just, most of the figures I have from this formation. I have some of the Beast of the Mesozoic raptors, but we're not going to fit in this group shot. So starting from the top, we have the Beast of the Mesozoic, Chasmosaurus, the Batat, Euoplocephalus. Here is Griposaurus, the species Griposaurus that was from the Dinosaur Park formation, was Notabilis, the old Carnegie collection, Corythosaurus. Here's the Safari Parasaurolophus, PNSO Centrosaurus, and Spinops, Safari Daspletosaurus, Papo Gorgosaurus, Safari Vagaceratops, the very old wild Safari Hypacrosaurus. Here is their Styracosaurus and PNSO's Lambeosaurus. Oof, I'm winded. So final thoughts on Safari's Vagaceratops. Another excellent Ceratopsian figure from them. Seriously, their whole line of Ceratopsians are excellent and they're very reasonably priced. The orange color scheme on this figure really stands out, makes it pop on your display shelf. It's a very scientifically accurate figure, and Doug Watson always does a fantastic job sculpting these. And plus, for just over $10, there's really no excuse not to add this to your collection. It's a very rare species in figure form. I think this is the only Vagaceratops figure out there. If I'm wrong, as usual, just let me know in the comments. And like I said at the beginning of the review, you can save 15% off anytime ordering directly from Safari's website using my exclusive coupon code DinoScreen. The link to order this figure from Safari is down below in the description. So that would do it for the review. I have a couple more older reviews lined up, but don't worry, new stuff is coming. The PNSO Torosaurus should be here relatively soon. We're just like a couple weeks away from Dominion figures, and they're releasing at Walmart. I keep going to my Walmart every day. And the first of the month is Friday, and I can't wait to do that and just subject myself to torture going in there. But hopefully I will be able to snag some Dominion figures early and have some new reviews for you guys. And that is it. As always, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, show your support by hitting that subscription button just below the video. Each subscription helps out the channel tremendously and is greatly appreciated. I'll see you guys for the next one.